Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy, people dealing with drama, cheating, lies, breakups, and even revenge. Some stories are wild, some are emotional, but all of them will keep you watching. If you like real talk and real situations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stick around. This is Crazy Pepper Revenge, where the stories get spicy. My wife Rachel and I were married for almost 6 years. For the first 5 years, we desperately tried to have a baby. We went to every specialist: fertility doctors, endocrinologists, counselors. We tested everything: her hormone levels, ovulation cycles, my seed count. Every test came back normal, but month after month, nothing happened. The heartbreak was crushing. About 3 years into our marriage, Rachel suggested using a donor. I immediately shut it down. I wanted our child to be ours biologically. I wanted to pass on my grandmother's green eyes or my father's stubborn chin. The idea of raising another man's child made me uncomfortable. No, I said firmly. That's not an option for me. Let's keep trying naturally. She stared at me for a long moment, but didn't argue further. Her subdued acceptance should have been a red flag that she was planning something. We kept trying for 2 more years. Just as we were losing hope, Rachel got pregnant. I was over the moon, dropped to my knees, crying when she told me. The pregnancy went smoothly, but Rachel insisted on going to appointments alone, saying I was too busy with work. I felt guilty missing work, so I let it slide. When Jason was born, I held him and immediately felt something was wrong. His features, hair, eyes, nothing looked like me. I told myself newborns can look generic, but the feeling wouldn't go away. Rachel seemed to study my reaction carefully, which should have been another warning sign. As Jason grew, the differences became more obvious. His hair was darker and wavier, his features completely unfamiliar. Strangers would comment that he must take after his mother's side or ask about Rachel's ethnicity. I hated these moments while Rachel seemed strangely protective, flinching whenever I studied Jason's face too long. I started wondering if she'd used a donor behind my back. It was the only explanation that made sense. But why wouldn't she tell me? The anxiety was eating me alive. One evening, I caught Rachel staring at a photo on her phone. An older man with dark wavy hair and strong jaw. She quickly turned it off when she saw me looking. A few nights later, while comforting Jason at 2 a.m., I suddenly saw a resemblance to Rachel's late ex-husband, Ethan, who had died in an accident before we reconnected. My heart pounded at the impossible possibility. I started searching the house whenever Rachel was out. In our basement, I found documents that made my blood run cold. Genome preservation forms from Northwest Cryogenics, dated before Ethan's death. There were forms about posthumous usage and recent consultation records showing Rachel had visited the cryobank while we were married, even while we were trying to conceive. I found bank statements showing payments to the facility that lined up exactly with her pregnancy. The horrible truth hit me. Rachel had used her dead ex-husband's seed to get pregnant and let me believe Jason was mine for over a year. I felt physically sick, gasping for air as emotions crashed over me. Anger, betrayal, horror, heartbreak. I stuffed the documents in a plastic bag and locked them in my desk. My first impulse was to confront her immediately, but I forced myself to wait. I needed to gather all the facts first. From that day forward, every interaction with Rachel felt fraught with tension. She sensed I was becoming distant and secretive. "But Daniel, is something wrong?" she'd ask, and I'd force a weak smile. Late at night while she slept, I scoured our financial records and found suspicious payments to Northwest Cryogenics. The timeline perfectly matched her pregnancy confirmation. Over a year before getting pregnant, Rachel had arranged specialized procedures at a fertility clinic that cooperated with the cryobank. She'd manipulated the entire situation while keeping me away from prenatal visits because she claimed I was too busy with work. I trusted her completely, never imagining my own wife would do something so calculating and deceptive. I barely slept, my mind racing through scenarios. Part of me still loved Rachel. She was the woman I'd spent 5 years trying to start a family with. But how could I look at her without feeling violated? I'd grown to love Jason fiercely, yet knowing his biological father was another man, one who wasn't even alive, tainted every joyful memory. The morning of Jason's first birthday arrived under stormy skies. Rachel had planned a small gathering with her parents and a few friends to watch Jason smash cake in his face. I'd already arranged to meet with my lawyer that afternoon to finalize the legal strategy. I had proof I wasn't Jason's father and documentation for a paternity fraud lawsuit. The party started at 2 p.m. with Rachel's parents, George and Linda, arriving with gifts. Linda pinched Jason's cheeks, cooing about her precious grandson's big day. I waited in steely silence, my stomach churning with dread and twisted anticipation. At 2:30, we presented the cake, white frosting with a big #1 candle. Jason clapped his tiny hands while Rachel smiled at me with that guarded flicker in her eyes. A spark of guilt flickered in my gut. Should I really do this at the baby's birthday? But I swallowed the doubt. She'd orchestrated this entire deception. She could handle the embarrassment. We sang happy birthday and snapped pictures as Jason got frosting all over his face. Then Rachel turned to me. Daniel, do you want to say something? She was probably expecting a sweet fatherly toast. Instead, I cleared my throat and looked at the small group. I'd like to share some news about Jason's paternity, I said. I saw shock flash across Rachel's face as her mother's eyebrows shot up. I know about Ethan's seed, I continued, my voice wavering with anger. I found the documents in the basement, the cryobank records, the procedures, the bills. I know Jason isn't mine. Stunned silence fell over the room before it exploded with noise. What is this madness? Linda demanded. What do you mean, not yours? Rachel's eyes filled with tears. Daniel, please, can we talk about this privately? This is Jason's birthday. It's not nonsense, I interrupted, pulling out the folder. I have proof right here. Here's the cryobank contract with Ethan Anderson's name, the fertility procedure dates, bank statements for the procedures. I also have blood test comparisons showing I'm not Jason's biological father. Everyone stared at the papers in shock. Rachel looked like she might pass out while Jason, oblivious to the chaos, babbled and tried smearing frosting on her sleeve. George's voice trembled as he said, Rachel, tell me this is some misunderstanding. She gulped, tears streaming, and finally spoke in halting words. It's complicated. I used Ethan's seed. But Daniel, we wanted a baby for so long and you refused any donor. I didn't think you'd ever accept it. You used your ex-husband's seed, Linda yelled aghast. When were you going to tell us? Rachel began sobbing. You have to believe me. I did it for us. I wanted us to have a baby. And it's not like I was cheating with a living person. Ethan was already gone. You lied to me. I cut her off with disgust. You let me think Jason was mine for the entire pregnancy. You had me sign the birth certificate, made me a legal father to someone else's child on purpose. That's paternity fraud. Rachel, we're done. Rachel collapsed to her knees, hugging Jason tightly. Daniel, please, she sobbed. Oh, we can work through this. I was going to tell you, but I was afraid you'd leave me. I swear, I wanted a child for our family. Whatever you say doesn't matter, I said, backing away. I've already filed for divorce. As soon as the hearing is scheduled, I'm suing you for paternity fraud. We're finished. Her parents tried to block me as I headed for the door. What kind of man are you? Linda hissed. Jason is your child, no matter whose genetic material it is. You raised him for a year, George added. If your seed is defective, that doesn't mean you can abandon fatherhood. Maybe your tests were wrong. My daughter did what she had to do. Fury radiated through me. Don't you dare talk about me being less of a man. Your daughter lied, planned this behind my back, and tricked me into believing I was the father. Get out of my sight. George looked like he might punch me. You're making a mistake. You walk out that door, we'll sue you for child support. That's your son, whether you like it or not. My temper snapped. You want to try me? I've got evidence your daughter defrauded me. Now move. When he refused to budge, I gave him a hard shove. The guest frantically tried to de-escalate as Jason started wailing from all the yelling. Everyone out of my apartment now, I shouted, swinging the door open. This party's over. Eventually, under the stares of the other guests, Rachel's parents grabbed their coats. Rachel tried to approach me one last time, but I hissed, Don't you dare. We're done. She sank onto the couch, still holding the crying baby. Out, I said, pointing at the door. Both of you now. But Daniel, this is our home, she whispered. This stopped being your home the moment you decided to betray me. Don't make me call the cops. Get out! She let out a choked sob but grabbed the diaper bag and her purse. With one last devastated look over her shoulder, she walked out into the rain, clutching Jason. Hours passed in a haze. I sat on the living room floor, staring at the remains of Jason's birthday cake strewn across the coffee table. My chest felt hollow. Part of me seethed that she had it coming, while another part ached with sorrow at how love could twist this way. Around 1 a.m., my phone rang. A friend from the party said, "Daniel, Rachel's in the hospital, some kind of breakdown. Her parents say she fainted from shock." I felt conflicting impulses: anger, guilt, pity. I asked which hospital, but ultimately didn't go. I was too consumed by betrayal. The next morning, thunderous pounding rattled my door. Rachel's parents stood there looking disheveled, eyes hollow from being up all night. "Rachel's in the hospital because of you," George accused, shoving a finger at my chest. "You threw her out on the street with her baby." "She's there because of her own lies," I replied.
"She did this, not me," Linda pushed forward, voice dripping with fury. "This is your family. Whether that child is biologically yours or not, you have a responsibility." "My responsibility ended when she decided to break our vows," I said bitterly.
"What about Rachel's betrayal? She did it for you both," Linda shrieked. "If your seed is defective, my seed isn't defective," I roared. "We had tests. Everything was normal. She refused to accept that fertility sometimes takes time. She used a dead man's seed instead. That's monstrous, and you know it." George lunged forward, but I caught his wrist. "Don't make this worse," I snarled, shoving him backward. "Get out of here." "If you want to talk, get a lawyer." 2 days later, as I finalized divorce paperwork, I learned Rachel had been discharged and was living with her parents. My lawyer, Mr. Beckman, was methodical, flipping through my evidence. "Clear case," he said. "We'll file for divorce on grounds of fraudulent misrepresentation and petition to disclaim paternity. You can request an immediate DNA test, though the cryobank documents speak volumes." The court case was swift. With the documentation proving Rachel's deception, my name was removed from the birth certificate and I was freed from legal obligations. Rachel attended every hearing looking frail and broken, clutching Jason. Sometimes I'd glimpse his wide-eyed curiosity as he stared at the courthouse lights, having no idea what was happening. The judge granted the divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and deception. Rachel wept as she left with Jason. I felt nothing but numb closure as the gavel fell. The hardest part is that I genuinely loved Jason. I'd bonded with him completely, thinking he was my son, but knowing the truth poisoned every memory. The child I'd fallen in love with was based on a lie. He's not my son. He's the product of my wife's manipulation and her deceased ex-husband's preserved genetics. I don't regret my decision. Rachel made her choice when she decided to use her dead ex's seed and lie about it for over a year. She never gave me the courtesy of a choice, violating my trust in the most fundamental way possible. Now she has to live with the consequences. The house feels hollow now, but at least it's free of their lies. Sometimes I remember holding Jason for the first time, thinking my prayers had been answered. That memory hurts the most, but I couldn't live knowing my entire fatherhood was built on such a massive deception.